Why do you think I, as a passenger, should choose an EV over ICE?
As a consumer, you get three things. EVs are here for the next 20 years, I can't answer. But I think alternative fuel is for sure. My father decided to join my grandfather in the business. वो एक बहुत बढ़िया basketball player थे.
If you had to start back in 1988, would you start with your first bus?
We used to stay in a joint family in those days. उस time पे तो लगता था यार इतने लोग एक साथ क्यों बैठे थे, बाहर निकलो. And an ICE bus does, let's say, 700-750 kilometers per day. You're talking about 750 kgs of carbon which you're bringing into the world on a daily basis.
नमस्कार मित्रांनो, आज हमारे साथ यहाँ पर हैं सौरभ पटवर्धन और बिहाइंड द सीन्स उनसे बात करते हुए मुझे जो फैमिली बिजनेस और जो एक सेंस ऑफ बिलोंगिंगनेस का आभास हुआ है, मैं चाहता हूँ कि आप सब उस चीज़ को महसूस करें. जानेंगे कि उनकी अपब्रिंगिंग कैसी हुई, प्रसन्ना सर जैसे लेजेंडरी बस ऑपरेटर के अंडर उन्होंने क्या क्या सीखा, ब्रदर के साथ बिजनेस को आगे बढ़ाने में, उसको नए स्तर पर ले जाने में कैसे उनकी जो है एक नई सोच और नई मुहिम है, और जो नेक्स्ट जनरेशन है वो किस तरीके से इस बिजनेस को देखती है. आई एम वेरी थ्रिल्ड वेलकमिंग सौरभ पटवर्धन. सौरभ, वेलकम टू द शो.
Thank you. Pleasure being here.
सो सौरभ, सबसे पहले शुरुआत वही करते हैं कि 1988 जब आपका सफ़रनामा शुरू हुआ था, कोइंसिडेंटली कुछ ना कुछ इसके तार जुड़े हुए हैं कि आपका बिजनेस भी वहाँ पर कहीं ना कहीं शुरू हो रहा था. टेल अस समथिंग अबाउट दैट.
So my father decided to join my grandfather in the business. वो एक बहुत बढ़िया basketball player थे. So he played for Maharashtra, he played for India, etc. Right? So his dream was to work in a bank. Because in those days, if you were good at some sport, you get selected into a state bank and then that's your life. Because of his injury, he had to think कि कुछ करना पड़ेगा. तो बिजनेस था, टैक्सी थी एक, शुरुआत ग्रैंडफादर चलाते थे उस ज़माने में. उस टाइम पे डोर टू डोर जाके बिजनेस ढूंढना, रोज 10-10 वॉचमैन को मिलना, कार्ड लाना, ये उनका लाइफ था. तो जब सोचा उन्होंने कि अभी टैक्सी के आगे और क्या कर सकते हैं, बिकॉज इन सम टाइम द फर्स्ट ईयर एंड हाफ 2 years ही फाउंड गुड कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स फॉर रनिंग टैक्सीज एक्सेट्रा. In those days, there were no good bus operators. And then it was not so easy to get permits to operate buses. You required special permits in those days, and those were given only to a very selected few privileged companies in those days. तो कोशिश चल रही थी बहुत दिनों से कि हमको मिले, because he saw that dream कि मुझे बस चलानी है. I don't know. In fact, now that you say this, it will be interesting for me to go back and ask him कि बस क्यों चलानी थी, because क्योंकि there is no law. ये टैक्सी चलाते थे, maybe he could have gone to any other business at that point. But yeah, तो उन्होंने वो दिमाग में सोचा था. I think must be in the 1980s, 86 में कि करना ही है. तो उनकी he started work in that direction. Incidentally, in the 1988 year, things moved. The government opened up a few license opportunities, and of course a lot of hard work, running through all possible offices that you can imagine those days he had to do. But 16th of January 1988 is when actually we got our first seater bus. I mean, first permit, and eventually our first seater bus in the next 2 months. In fact, somebody wished him just a few days back, because it's been, so it was the birthday of our first bus just a couple of months back. So long journey, but like they say, there is destiny which pulls you into some dream. That dream has definitely kept him going. As children with starry eyes, it's keeping us going as well.
Because you mentioned about basketball, I have to ask. प्रसन्ना सर के साथ जब बात हो रही थी तो उन्होंने बताया that he met your mother. It's almost like a How I Met Your Mother kind of a episode. The love life or the personal life started with a sport, which became a very big pillar in his life. He could not stop talking about how supportive your mother and your family has been. Tell us about you. Do you play basketball? Did you also meet Shruti around that area? Like how was all of that?
So unfortunately or fortunately, I never went to the basketball court at all. And this could be because my father had that fall and he had to struggle with his knees thereon. So maybe he didn't also push us ki, you should play this. But I loved swimming, so I swam for our school, then for our college, then for Pune district, then went for the Maharashtra camp as well. Water polo I played extensively as well. So no land sport, it's only the water for me in terms of sport. And then I met my wife in the UK, so I went there for my masters in the University of Nottingham. And through a common friend, we randomly met because what are the chances? I give you her background, right? Which place she was born in, this, that. We spoke about this a few days. So based on all those cities which I had never been a part of, the stars aligned. We met in the UK, introduced through a friend. In maybe a year and a half, we knew this is it, which is quite rare coming from somebody who's not in his 60s, because our generation doesn't necessarily believe in committing so fast. But then we came back, and then we decided to meet each other's parents, and luckily for us they were kind enough to accept each other, because different cultures, it's always a challenge.
प्रसन्ना सर की पॉडकास्ट देख रहे थे, उसमें बहुत सारे फैमिली एलिमेंट्स हमें देखने को मिले. इनफैक्ट आई रिमेंबर मैंने सर से पूछा था, सर हाउ इज़ योर रिलेशनशिप विद मनी, आप पैसे को कैसे देखते हो? तो बोले यार मैं जब सुबह उठता हूँ तो मैं पैसा कमाने के लिए नहीं, वैल्यू कमाने के लिए मार्केट में मैं कैसे वैल्यू जनरेट करता हूँ, एम्प्लॉयमेंट के थ्रू, हैप्पीनेस के थ्रू. And I could sense the same amount of passion for value, for family, for well-being. Family not just being by blood relation, but also by the employment and the team that you have built. Tell us something about how do you look at the importance of family in the businesses?
So I think for a business like any business, but for a business which demands a lot of time, a lot of travel, a lot of commitment, you need a family. Now I'll start with the blood family first, and then I'll move on to the extended family, which is by the thousands now with God's grace. As kids growing up, right, when we were 2, 3, 4 years old, or the faintest memory of when I was maybe 4 or 5 years old, I always saw that we used to stay in a joint family in those days. So growing up when I was 4-year-old, it was 25 of us staying together in a house which was maybe not as big as a 3-bedroom apartment today, right? And what kept us together are two things, is what I realized later on. उस time पे तो लगता था यार इतने लोग एक साथ क्यों बैठे, बाहर निकलो. But in hindsight, what has been created by virtue of staying together, spending time, being each other's support, is the concept of having each other's back, irrespective of anything, comes from a strong foundational family values belief. So for us, it's always been a case where, I mean, we tend to take these things for granted, but that is something which, in my dad's case, for example, if you ask him to choose over $1 billion and 100 good relationships, he will not even blink before choosing those 100 people, and he will know those 100 people by name when he will choose that. Because the culture is such that in the end, you need good people by you through the journey, on the journey, after the journey. And that we try to maintain as our backbone, as our spine, in terms of culture in our organization as well, to bring good people, to make them family, to help each other grow, propel each other forward in terms of the extended family. In terms of the blood family, it's a very simple equation that I saw growing up, right? Irrespective of situation, irrespective of times, ups, downs, each person has his clear role. So in case of my mother, for example, I've always seen her stand like a solid rock, pillar, or anything stronger than that behind my father. And it's business, right? So we've seen across these 40 beautiful years, ups, downs, confusions, tensions, things going right, things not going right, accusations, every possible thing, like any other business owner would. What is amazing is the strength which, whether it's my grandparents, whether it's my mother, whether it's the extended family, we are blessed to have a very large family. We call, even now we have a WhatsApp group called Big Family, which is actually about 55 of us, which is immediate family as such. Because 25 used to stay together, that 25 has now become 55. That is the size of the family. So I think what is great is that you know that you have 55 people standing behind you when you go out to do your work, and that gives you tremendous strength.
So Saurabh, when the family is so big, a few thousand like you mentioned, right? And businesses, especially bus businesses, have a lot of turbulences. कभी डर लगता है कोविड जैसी सिचुएशन में, या कोई एक मैसिव एक्सीडेंट हो गया, राइट, कोई पुलिस केस, राइट? आई एम श्योर it is very regular for you. But when you have responsibility of so many people, do you think in a business like ours, it is also a huge responsibility to have so many drivers, conductors, so many cleaners, technicians working for you, and their bread and butter is dependent on how good or some of the big business decisions that you will take?
So by virtue of having amazing people that we've grown over the last 35, 40 years now, last week we celebrated our oldest employee who heads our intercity business. He crossed 40 years milestone. And what happens is when there are people of this magnitude, experience, age with us, we have, like you've met even Rohit, who's, 37, 38 years. These people have literally grown old with us, with the company as their own company. So what that does is that it helps us share responsibilities, share risk, and by virtue of the culture and the amazing people that we've been able to find, most of the escalations, problems, like you mentioned, right? Because when you operate so many buses and there are, at the end of the day, drivers which drive these machines, things can go wrong. Things do go wrong. Although in our case, we work a lot on safety, but things go wrong. And when that happens, an accident happens, anything happens, we have a solid team which can resolve this overnight without any interference from the family at all. And without that, I don't think this journey or even this dream which we sit here today and look at, like I said, with starry eyes, it would not be possible to imagine this dream. Because unless you have people who literally have your back, not just to say, but these are people which are willing to literally sacrifice their lives for your company. And I think because of that, if anybody asks me, and whenever they ask me that, because how's your father's journey been, what has he built, etc., I would say the biggest thing is people. The people relationships which he's built is his single biggest achievement that he will also agree. And as a young child growing up watching him, when I see the influence which he has on people, and then the society, and then the industry at large, it's amazing to see the impact that he's been able to generate just by the virtue of being blessed with working with great people around him.
So Prasanna sir is a stats guru, as I call him. Like every event that I attend, he is always full of new statistics. And I'm sure about 10 years back, he would know about a study that we were reading together that about 70% of the family businesses fail in the second generation and only 12% survive in the third generation. So when he was looking to pass the baton to you and Harsh, did you ever felt that he knew that there is an institutionalization of the buses coming in, or a lot of funding coming in, new age players are coming with much more capital preparedness? What was the kind of discussion at home that when he was preparing you and your brother about the next challenge?
So while he is a very stats heavy person, as you would have known, noticed, etc., he loves to stay in touch with the industry, what has happened, what are the trends, etc. But when we discussed about what next, what will happen in the days to come. While yes, competition plays a role, but his viewpoint and advice to us, singular advice, if I have to give you. Of course, if I give you all his advice, then I'll have to do a full movie with you. But his singular advice has always been that do it if you do it with all your heart, or don't do it at all. So if you're able to find this business, this industry, as something which is interesting, exciting, with your heart, then only do it. Otherwise, I am willing to support you on any business that you want to do. And this also not too many parents or fathers would do, especially when then in your mind questions will come for, what about my business? He never did that. So there was no pressure. He never pushed us, forced us, convinced us. He gave us a fair understanding of the business, its pros, its cons. Because of his participation on the industry side and his love for this industry, we got a good chance from the balcony to observe this market. And then he left it to us to decide that do we want to be in this market. One thing he was clear on is, one is obviously do it only if you do it with all your heart. Second is do it only if you can run this business with the highest level of integrity, or don't do it at all. That is something that he's always, maintained in a market where it's very hard to maintain. Because typically in our country, when you speak about or refer to transporters, bus owners, taxi owners, the image which comes to your mind is not really, high integrity. And his dream is, and plus his personal contribution is, that why can't it be that way? We want to build an example, set an example, where in years and days to come, the legacy would be not just the business, but that yes, you can industrialize this a business in this market, and you can still do that with full integrity.
Can you imagine yourself doing something else? Where would Saurabh be if you have not chosen this path? Because I think you have seen the ups and downs, you have seen COVID, you have seen the recent ups and downs of the industry. Where would you think you're fitting in in the alternate universe?
So I always knew that I will do one of the three things, and the following are the three. I spent about 10 years of my time after my masters in logistics. So warehousing, last mile mobility, middle mile, express cargo. So I've spent good amount of time on that. We still continue having that business as well. So that would be one business, but we are anyways also in it. So second is hospitality. I think it interests me because I'm a foodie. I love food. I love to try different palate types, different cuisines. So, and plus we are also in that business again. So we run some restaurants. We have a motel on the Shirdi highway as well. We have more things planned in days to come, and so in fact, maybe a template, maybe that's just the way I grew up looking at things which are going on around us. But for me, if you take these three industries away, I'll be lost. I'll probably be unemployed.
Which are the 5 food items that you would recommend us to take your bus and go to and try?
With the disclosure that I am a pure non-vegetarian, so most of my recommendations will be non-vegetarian. First places that you should go to, which I'm not sure a lot of us travel to for food, great mutton in Nagpur. So Nagpur has this amazing Sauji food type, very spicy, very different in terms of the spice mix. So definitely that. Closer to home, Kolhapur, again great. Great mutton thalis is their format, which they do. Third would be Goa. Goa, obviously, I'm sure all of us would have been there at some point of time, but their traditional home-cooked Goan thali is something that I personally relish, and for somebody who's not tried that, should definitely do. Surprisingly, Bangalore has a lot of food because of my wife is there, so I actually get to explore Bangalore like a local, which earlier I traveled a lot to Bangalore, but I never got to experience those food types. So I like their traditional military hotel food in Bangalore, which is amazing. And you can't complete this list of 5 without Hyderabad. So the biryani of Hyderabad is obviously, I kept it for the last because, the best for the last is what they say. But yeah, I love that as well. So these would be my top picks. And I've chosen all the places where our buses go. Beyond that, there are places where our buses have not yet started. That will be on my next 5 list.
So sort of for a young boy or girl traveling from Bombay to Pune or Hyderabad to Vijayawada or Delhi to Chandigarh in an EV bus versus spending the same money for an IC bus, why do you think I as a passenger should choose an EV over ICE?
I traveled in an EV bus and an EV car about maybe 3 or 4 years back in not ours but somebody else's service offering, right? And I realized that once you given a choice, if it's at the right price point, of course, we are value buyers, right, in India. So we all have, it can't be exorbitantly charged. But assuming that it's all fairly priced, as a consumer, you get 3 things in an electric vehicle. It is quieter because you have no noise of the, hustling, bustling engine behind you. It's smoother, because there are no vibrations of multiple parts rattling against each other, and it's cleaner. So therefore you'll find that the tailpipe emissions, even when you stand in the departure area or arrival area, you don't have those tailpipe emissions of a bus which unfortunately or fortunately runs on fossil fuel and has those emissions coming out from. So quieter, definitely smoother. And overall, if you see, so I can say that as a user of an electric car as well, right? When you travel in an electric car and then you make that switch and you go sit in a diesel car, for example, it's not just these 2-3 things. It actually feels different for some reason.
Yeah.
So it's a refreshing change. So I would say that as a customer, you feel much more comfortable, and the primary choice maker in any case for any consumer should be comfort. So I think EVs are much more comfortable as of today. Therefore, I think for short, mid as well as longer rides, you'll find the difference in your comfort levels and your overall happiness index.
Electric vehicles के बारे में बात करेंगे. Buses, EV, do you think this is the future, present? Are we too late in this?
So to start with, I think that we're only getting started. So the electric bus journey, EV is definitely the future. I'll come to why I say that in a bit. But before that, what we can look at is what is happening in our country. Right? Look at what is happening in terms of the sales of two-wheelers. Every, I would say, third person who's buying a new two-wheeler, scooter, not the bike part yet, but the scooters, is now either going electric or looking at electric, and then at least considering an electric, which is significant, right, for a nation our size. If you look at auto rickshaws, about 40% of the total volume of auto rickshaws sold last year was electric, which is a huge shift for a country which has a base as wide as India. In buses, we've started a little late, but like they say, it's better late than never. On multiple reasons, I am a firm advocate of why buses will go electric here on. One is obviously the easy answer, which is the TCO. The unit economics makes sense. As an operator, as long as your numbers make sense, you will transition. So this is my economic answer. But from a much more larger citizen perspective, right? When we decided to go electric, we were obviously observing OEMs, looking at Excel sheets, making when to make that switch. When 2019 we launched our first electric bus service, there was no such thing called as a electric service available in the country, and we made that move. Then post COVID, we again are back to electric now this year. But as I mentioned, I have two daughters. And when we imagine a world that we are bringing them into today, and when we are constantly checking AQI levels on our phones, right? When we wake up in the morning, if we have to check AQI in India's urban cities, there's something that as citizens, forget businessmen, we have to do. And I think anything while being in business and while staying true to its core purpose, which is making a profit, if you're still able to deliver impact which is larger than just profit, you should do. So I think for electric vehicles, the biggest seller is going to be just that the profit is higher. So it's a very clear reason to transition. But beyond that, there's a much deeper personal reason that I believe we have to go electric, because tailpipe emission, like I mentioned, behind every ICE bus, and an ICE bus does, let's say, an average is about 750 kilometers per day. You're talking about 750 kgs of carbon which you're bringing into the world on a daily basis. So I feel that while if we look at comparable economies, and there's only China to look to, so I can't do an electric answer without mentioning China. There are cities which have the likes of 15 and 20,000 electric buses running in a single city. So it's been done. It works really well. Once you make the switch to electric, if you sit in the electric car, for example, the whole experience is completely different. Yeah. There's no vibration, there's no noise. It makes you feel good. The cost of ownership is low. There's nothing that you don't like about that full experience, right? So I think the customer's happy, the fleet owner's happy because he makes more money, and planet Earth is happy. So I think with these three things, I feel that we are at the tip of the iceberg. And by 2030, as a company, we will target to transition about 40% of our fleet to EVs, at least, if not more, based on what we can see today. Whether EVs are here for the next 20 years, I can't answer. But I think alternative fuel is for sure. So what we have and can see and can answer about today is EVs. And I think all operators that I speak to today, what is good, what is a positive change that's happening is, in every nook and corner of the country, there are operators which are now looking at EVs very seriously. And it's a matter of time before even the masses start jumping in. And the OEMs, in fact, will need to gear up to make those many buses very soon.
So since you spoke about masses, a lot of our viewers are young bus operators or want to be bus operators, right? So if you had to start back in 1988, like your father being at a very young age of 22, 24, would you start with your first bus today as an EV bus? How are the unit economics, if you could just probably explain to somebody who wants to start a bus and wants to decide between ICE and EV?
So to answer that, although we have a very rich legacy and obviously a very strong team backing it, getting into an electric bus business is like starting afresh. You completely need to look at that business very differently from what you do in a day-to-day ICE business. So for us, in fact, we look at that as an infant, which we have brought into this world now. And I say that because the way you design your route is completely different. In the world of ICE, there is very little, I would say, planning you have to do in order to actually start a route. You select an OEM, yes, you need comfort, AMC, all of that. Once that happens, you plug that bus in and start running it. In EV, you actually need to design the full route very well because you need the right charging on both sides. You need the right product. Within the product, there's variations in terms of whether you need a battery pack which is heavier, lighter, whether you need LTO, whether you need LFP, whether you need NMC. These are battery chemistries which you need to then make a choice on which one is suitable based on what is the end application, how many charging cycles will have. The level of complexity that EVs bring definitely provides for an opportunity for the organized bus operators to carve out some differential, but also I would say it's an art to actually engineer a route which is fully electric by making all of these right choices. Whether you work with a charging point operator, whether to set it up yourself, what capacity charger to put, what is the energy cost there, off-peak charging, what is it? Do you want a green meter? So there's 30 questions you answer before you even are able to start that route. I will definitely say that if you want to get into this business today, in 2026, there is no other way to get in this business unless you want to start electric. The market is, and that's I say that on account of primarily one reason, that when you start afresh today in 2026, you are here to build a journey for the next 10 years. You don't want to invest time, money and energy into a technology which is outgoing. You'd rather spend that money in your foundational years, be a master in a new incoming technology, so that when you build that competency in the first 1 or 2 years, you grow with that trend and you get to become large over the next 10 years. But EVs is, you have to be data savvy. You need to really look at your business from a completely, you have to be hands-on, you have to use IoT, you have to make sure that all your decisions are run real time using technology rather than just gut feeling and how we traditionally ran our businesses. But yes, to answer your question, newcomers or including us, we look at this baby as a startup. You have to look at it. You have to be extremely I would say dynamic in the way day to day you take your decisions, look at customer experience. It's a great new opportunity to upgrade yourself.
For almost a decade, we've been listening to Prasanna sir as he has helped us visualize that a bus that is on the road with 40 people plus sitting in it versus 40 of them driving their own car, it has already made a huge impact on the environment. Cut to today, when we see that your vision and your company's vision is to electrify it and also even further reduce the carbon footprint from the environment, is commendable. I can only say that I can strongly feel that Purple Bus and this bus industry is in safer hands. Thank you so much for being with us and spending so much of wisdom. I would look forward to seeing you again in our next season. Thanks, Saurabh.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me over.